Alright, howdy fellow retail Shadow Priest. We're looking at how the hell do we do damage this season. It is Dragonflight Season 4, and I haven't really played too much this season comparatively to other seasons. I've been just trying to like get my gear together and get my glad ones. I still have some like kind of poo-poo items, and I'm trying to get some conquest to craft more. But for the most part, I think I'm trying to learn the meta, and I'll just share what I've found that the other really good Shadow Priests are playing to deal a ton of damage. First off, they're playing comps where they can free cast. They're not really playing difficult comps to play. I feel like they're just playing comps that are kind of easy from the Shadow Priest pop, and that's for a reason. Because if you get trained and you get shut down, you're obviously not going to be doing 150k, 200k DPS. But if you can play a comp that enables you a little bit, it's going to make your life a lot more fun. So I think the classes to be looking to play with would probably be an Affliction Warlock first off. Would be the easiest thing to play with. They'll pretty much always train the Warlock, or you could play with an Assassin Rogue, and that way he's going to be stunning people off you and stuff. So with that in mind, these talents are going to be for the purpose of completely free casting, where you're not really focused on faking interrupts or dodging kicks. You're just pretty much doing like a PvE parse rotation, which is pretty much what Arena has come down to. I don't know if anyone has noticed that. So we're going to play no Shadow Crash, no Unfurling Darkness. This is going to enable us to pick up some really juicy, fun talents, such as the Phantasmal Pathogen Apparition Boost. It's going to synergize really well with your tier set. I was able to actually get some swaps to a healer when they're around like 70% from dots, and then just switch to them with PI Void Form with the tier set up, and the apparitions are critting for like 100k, 85k. So really, really nice to utilize this talent when it's up, or the proc when it's up, and be aware of how you're spawning apparitions. Next, we're going to play Mental Decay. It's going to boost your Mind Spike a bit, but also extend your dots, just makes it easier for uptime purposes, not reapplying dots. We don't have Shadow Crash on Unfurling, like I said, so you really want to be doing a lot of Mind Spikes, and you'll be casting VTs less. We have all the 3 idols just for extra pad damage. Playing Mind Spike, of course, if you ever get kicked for some reason, even though you shouldn't be the target, just start spiking and go from there. I've even opted to drop intangibility, because when you know you're not going to be the target, you can just play full YOLO talents, and that is going to be your best bet. You can put a point into Evangelism here, or you can even put a point into Ancient Madness for when you Void Form. You'll get more crits, you'll spawn more apparitions, your apparitions will crit, stuff like that. But I think Evangelism might be alright as well. On the left side here, since you're playing with an Athlock, Mind Games adds a little extra juice. Fortunately, it isn't the most insane talent, but still giving it that extra little oomph from the additional 25% here is kind of nice with the Athlock, so I would definitely consider taking those. We don't really need Bulwark or anything like that, because ideally, again, we're not the target. We could even drop this spell warding stuff and play, I don't know, something more aggressive. I don't even know what that would be. But anyway, let's look at our PvP talents as well. These are pretty standard. You've probably been playing these all expansion. Mind Trauma, Phase Shift, and Catharsis. Maybe you don't even need Catharsis if you're not the target, so you could opt for Psyfiend as well. You can make an argument for that if we're just going in this whole I'm not going to get trained mentality. Then we'll talk about the basic DPS rotation, which I should probably go to Valdraken just to kind of show you what goes on in the arena. Then we'll take a look at Arena and see how that plays into everything as well. I've got a couple games playing Shadowplay in yesterday with no voice, playing with Warlock that was absolutely stoned, and it seemed like we were able to pretty much win most of our games on mana and damage. I'm about 2800 MMR in Shuffle as well, but I've been kind of getting owned this week. I tried these talents in Shuffle, and it did not work at all. Like, it's just impossible. If you want to play Shuffle, don't play these talents. I'll have to make a separate video on that, or I can just briefly tell you that you're going to want to drop Phantasmal, you're going to pick up Shadow Crash, and then you're probably going to want to drop Mental Decay for Unfurling as well. So once the arena starts, basically dismount, dot your first target, no Unfurling, dot the other guy, and then we'll say this is the healer, dot him as well. I'll Shadow Fiend, instantly PI, Void Form, Void Bolt since it's up. We're just gonna spam generate apparitions. I don't even have this data, that's not good. Little Void Torrent. It's kind of crazy because I feel like I'm not really doing anything, but I'm actually doing damage. Essentially, the main focus is just to spawn your apparitions while you're doing damage. So that's going to be Mind Blasting on cooldown, Void Bolting on cooldown, Devouring Plague. Like, you just want to generate Insanity, because every time you get Insanity, you can Devouring Plague. Devouring Plague is a lot of damage. It spawns an apparition, synergizes with your tier set, synergizes with Phantasmal. Yeah, and apparitions might be your top damage in a lot of games. So even if we look at like some of these games where I'm just in arena and I look at my damage, like apparition is pretty much at the top right there. I don't know if I did a great job explaining it in the target dummies, but let's take a look at arena and see how that works, because this might be a little bit more helpful. So again, I know that I'm playing with an Athlock. Oh yeah, I didn't mention one thing. I didn't mention the embellishments, because I'm not really good at these either. I put on the mastery one. It is called Zone of something, but it increases your mastery when you're over 90% HP, Zone of Focus. I've seen other people use Witherrot Tome as well by dropping precog. I personally still like precogs. I think people sometimes off-kick you, and then you can fake a kick, and then you can't get CC'd, which is really nice, obviously. But if you really want to go full YOLO and you're playing with like a Feral that's only going to be eating kicks for you, then you can play, play 2 embellishments, and one of them doesn't have to be precog. Let's get into the game here. So I'm going to instantly just dot this warrior, dot this ret, dot the dragon. I got triple dots, right? This is my opener. I did this on the dummies. I Shadow Fiended. One thing I do this game, also that a lot of bots do, is they Void Torrent really early in the game. So I get line on my Void Torrent. This is kind of bad because he ports up. I've seen a lot of people dismounted Void Torrent. I don't really know whether that's the best thing to do. I think when it comes to just getting your dots out, that's a little bit more important if there's any risk that you don't get them up later. But this is, in general, a good opener to get dots out on all 3 targets. My game's the healer. Going to Void Form PI, and now it's time to just spam Absolute Damn. I see that the dragon walls, so we'll just go ahead and switch to whatever target doesn't have a defensive up. In this case, it's either the warrior or the ret, so I'm just hitting the warrior here. Like to hit the target that is, takes the most damage, and ideally has a Devouring Plague on them too for those apparitions. And you can see my ghosty boys are flying all around. As Shadow Play, it's definitely really important to pester the healer. You can see he's standing on me, and he will take damage for that. I'm not just going to let him fear me at my face. I have Fade, I have Meld, I have Death. Won't get feared. Fully channel the Void Torrent. That's going to give me the 3 stacks of Mind Trauma. You don't really have to min-max Mind Trauma too hard. I feel like it'll just kind of naturally happen, but if you notice your stacks are falling, definitely try to refresh them. My dots fell off the ret, so I'm going to VT him. Then we can start spiking the healer again, over and over again. Healer walls. Dude, how often can they wall? Bubble. Don't have MD. I MD'd something previously. I silenced into Oremaster. I don't even know what that looks like though, so really feel like that wasn't my bad at all. Dots back on the ret after the bubble, just sitting here, PB rotation, Mind Spike, Mind Spike. Make sure your Warlock's playing in your line of sight, just use comms, even though we're not playing in voice. It's really important that they are just in the open for your rotation. Getting some Mind Trauma stacks gives me Insanity as well. Triple dots. I'm constantly changing my targets to monitor their dots, but you can kind of see on the nameplates as well. You can see the Ret's dots were like bouncing just on 4 seconds with the Mind Spikes. I think that's why I like the, what is that talent called? I already forgot. This one right here. I like Mental Decay. Feels good. My Warlock is essentially just a tank for me to PvE the team to death. Healer has to play in the open because that's just how dragons work, so I feel like it's really good for us to face this team. It feels really easy to win. I get off-kicked by the ret. I'm going to PI and pop into Void Form here in a second. Make sure I got dots on everyone. I do. Void Form. I run at the healer. Every time I have cooldowns up, I run at the healer. I feel like it's the best way to put people behind. You know, I'm doing 185k, 188k, no pets on this team. My Lock's getting trained. He would be doing even more damage if I think he wasn't being trained. So you kind of want to play that comp where you're left to your own devices and you can just completely crank. And there we go. We finished the game at 194k. We have a question in the chat. Don't spam Devouring Plague. You absolutely can spam Devouring Plague. It's very good. It stacks. The debuff will stack. And then also, just every time you Devouring Plague, you are spawning more apparitions and you're extending that time of your Devouring Plague, so the apparitions will definitely hit into the target that is DP. But yeah, if that helps anybody at all, I hope it does. It's again, you only really want to do this when you know you can free cast. When you can't free cast, you'll probably want to move some stuff around, like definitely take Shadow Crash and Unfurling, and then you can play something like this. You're going to lose a lot of damage from those apparitions. Like I said, it's going to be your top damage a lot of the times. But if you really wanted to play the apps, you could do something like this. Put 1 point there, and then maybe just play without Unfurling and see how that works. Yeah, I think it's kind of personal preference, but overall, if you're playing Shadowplay and you want to know how to pump a little bit harder, I think that is a good model to follow. Especially integrating all these just different parts that we can do to kind of reduce our defensive utility and increase our offensive ability, I feel like is going to be really important. So yeah, maybe dropping precog for that Witherrot tome, or I don't even know what it is. I think it's on a... Is it on and off hand? I don't even know how to get it. Blue Silk Lining, I think that's what it's called. Dealing damage with spells and abilities has a chance to inflict. It's in my Discord right here. If you guys aren't in the Discord, definitely join the Discord. Chance to make them take 32k damage and slow their movement speed. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. I'm definitely going to try to pump out some more retail games. It's just a little hard. I feel like everyone's still kind of on Kata. I want to push Glad. I don't know if I'll try to push rank 1. I feel like that might be out of the cards for me this season, but I'll definitely keep playing, and maybe I'll try to push higher and shuffle once I get some more games under my belt. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.